G'day, hi and welcome. All right. Okay. A little bit late getting down here, almost 20 after freaking 11. I had to go do a little job and do some shovelings, do a little bit of inspections. Had to park really far away because the plow guy didn't go into my clients yet. So I was like, okay. But I got that done. I got more shoveling to do tomorrow. Unfortunately, I got to go shovel the church a day early because for a funeral procession. So it happens. I knew who he was. My dad knows who he was there. But anyway, yeah, God rest him anyway. But that said, today's video was Chips and Pop are brought to you by my aunt because I shoveled her steps this morning. She gave me $20. I was like, oh no, you don't have to. She said, take it. I was like, okay. She said, you're always shoveling for me, you gotta take it. I was like, okay. So that's what paid for my pop and chips. And a little gas money from my dad too, because I borrowed his truck. Alrighty then. Um, I'll try not to drag this one out too long. I have a tendency to do that once I get into rant mode. Me, ranting, I know, me. So I didn't see all of Trump's. Another This Week in the World Crazy. Here we go. I didn't see all of Trump's rhetoric in response to Carney, but there's definitely, if there's two men at the World Economic Forum that are kind of taking pot shots at each other, directly or indirectly, it's basically Trump. Now Trump is really, really off the deep end. Like I've got, you know, like I understand the romanticism of the MAGA. I do. I really do. Look, we've been screwed over by these people for years, decades, centuries, forever, right? And it's trackable, right? We've been gaslighted. We've been, picked on. We've been all this authoritarianism, hate speech laws, illegal wars, lawfare, and lawfare is the wave of the future, right? Because there's no more rule of law. So it's like all these new laws, and again, something I told you Americans: hey, look, you're sitting there going, oh well, we got freedom of speech and the Constitution, and look at those guys over there in the UK. They don't have a Constitution, in Canada and New Zealand, a lot, and Australia. Look at that, eh? We're the land of the free, and then you find out, okay, well, just like you see in the UK, you got guys now knocking on people's door, police officers knocking on people's doors about Facebook posts. This is not that new. It's just there's this illusion that it's not happening down there, right? And it's really weird. I agree with Canadian Prepper on it. It's like how willingly the MAGA, like, that used to be like hardcore libertarians, are now all embracing like authoritarianism and stuff like that. Now, mind you, I kind of look at it a little bit different than he does, but he is correct on a lot of things. That it's like, yeah, it's the hypocrisy of it. That now, okay, well, when the state is brutalizing your enemies, you're okay, right? Let's bring in all this jackboot thuggery, whatever, and like the National Guard and everything like that. And I'm not saying it doesn't deserve to be there, but what I'm saying is the reason why you have the Alaskan National Guard in Minnesota is because there's no rule of law. These people, these left-wing lunatics, have been allowed to go out and protest and murder people and do all these, George Floyd protest. You name the protest, right? They've been allowed to do it. So in their minds, there's no accountability. They believe they're, social justice, and it's a just cause, and I'm going to throw my body on the line for social justice, and all the religion that they're brainwashed into, right? So, and of course, when you have basically these NGO groups and, like mayors, judges, lawyers, all these people and all these NGO groups and, whatever, mayors, police chiefs, whatever, allowing all this disruption to go on by taking political sides, like the taking a knee thing and all that stuff. Like, to take a knee thing is bad enough. You know what I mean? Like, if a football player does it, who cares? When a judge or a lawyer does it, or a police officer does it, like, there's laws that when people, like, are in the military or in law enforcement or whatever, they're not supposed to be like engaging in political rhetoric because it's a conflict of interest. And you say, well, oh, my rights to, yeah, but there's, I think at that point when you're the one that's guarding the hen house, you have to be a lot more neutral. You can't be out there with your political heart on your so-called proverbial sleeve, right? But that's what we're seeing, right? So what action reaction? So the left is convinced everybody right of Karl Marx is a Nazi, right? So there's nothing you can do about that. They're fanatics, loyalists, religious loyalists, right? But the MAGA, like they're now okay with the Maduro raid. They're now okay with going to war for Israel because Trump's the good guy fighting the deep state. They're now okay if Trump decides to invade Greenland. And I started really thinking about what's going on there. Right now, Sweden has now sent Saab Gripens to Iceland. So again, this Nordic 8 alliance that's includes us Canadians as well. It's organizing faster than what NATO does. It's really really bizarre to watch, almost in real time, right? And more data is coming out on the Saab Gripen. I'm going to talk about that thing too. That thing is not the budget fighter people think it is, and I've said it from day one. Like, if you gave me the option of buying a fleet of F-35s or a fleet of Saab Gripens, and you say, well, okay, well, you spare no expense, right? I'd say go with the Saab Gripens. There's way more advantages to that airplane than the advantages to the F-35. Like, it's not even close. There is advantages the F-35 has that the Saab Gripen doesn't. But the Saab Gripen can, other than stealth, it can pretty much do absolutely everything and a little bit more than what the Gripen can do, or what the F-35 can do. A lot of people don't realize that, but it's true. Like, the Saab Gripen works in minus 50 much better. Like, it was designed to work in minus 50, right? The F-35s have to be modified to be able to do that. I mean, it's not a gold standard right away off the line, right? Like the Avro Arrow, it was designed off the line to be able to work in the Arctic, right? Because people know shit breaks in the Arctic. You can't keep nothing running. I used to work with this old guy named Guy. He was an RCAF helicopter mechanic. He worked on the Chinooks and the Kiowa and the Gripens and all that. Bell 214, 212, whatever. The Hueys, basically, right? And I think the Sea King, and he pretty much worked on them all, right? And he's like, he goes, everything fucking breaks up there. He goes, just doing fasteners takes you a day. Like when you run a new hydraulic line on a Chinook, he goes, it's like a fucking day just doing fasteners. And he goes, if you have to change a wheel and you have to take a wheel bearing off, he goes like, fuck, you got to get the torches out, heat it up, and then shit snaps and breaks because now you wreck the integrity of the metal, and it's just fucking nightmare. He goes like, whatever it took to work on a helicopter in the south, he goes, it takes about 4 times longer or 5 times longer up in the north. It is what it is, right? So having something that takes that into consideration on the design board is really, really, really good. And then there's the nobody's talking about this. And I understand, you've got these generals out there saying, Canada only needs the F-35 and that's it, right? These guys are very partisan. You can tell that, right? But when you look at on paper, yes, the Saab Gripen shouldn't be what it is. But yet, when you look at it in practice, there's a whole different story there. This aircraft, in 2006, now mind you, the newer version is much better, but in 2006, 3 Gripens were the enemy force in Red Flag. It's the big NATO, air combat thing. They took out something like 15 airplanes without a single loss. just because of how they work, and that's 2006 technology they had. right? And again, tactics makes more than the software. The software always outruns the hardware, and tactics rule. You know what I mean? They did it again. What was the drill? And they were going up against, just so you have an idea, they took out a Euro Typhoon, a pair of Euro Typhoons, which are, that's the next to the F-22, that's the next top dog super fighter of, of the West, right? Is the Eurofighter Typhoon. And then maybe the F-35 after that in some ways. Maybe the F-35 in parallel too. It's hard to say, right? But F-15 Block 50s, which I think is the newest one, or the Vipers of Block, I don't know what. Anyway, Block 50s. They took out like 9 of them without a single loss. And then there was one where they got 1 loss. It was just like over and over again. I know the Chinese and the Malaysians up against the Chinese Su-30s, which is called the J. Not J-30. Yeah, it's J-30. I think it's called the J-30. Anyway, the Chinese in close did better in the dogfight, obviously, just because twin engine, superpower, hyper maneuverability. They did. It was kind of like 2-1 win over the Soft Gripen at that. But once they got 15 kilometers out, the Soft Gripens were just fucking clobbering. And this is Malaysia. Like, this is not a country that has as state of the art infrastructure and stuff like that. The Brazilian model of with the Soft Gripens, again, they're pretty much independent with their Soft Gripens. They don't have to get approval from the United States as much, even though the United States try to block the sale. The problem that the Gripen has is that it uses some American technology in it, right? Why? Globalism, right? This is why France basically everything they build in their military is in-house. Like, there's no shared. Like, they sell technology to other countries, so that, but like anything they need to work on themselves, it's built in-house. The British are pretty much that way as well, but same with the Germans, right? The Italians a bit as well. But like anybody that has American equipment, you're on. You can only use it to the level of what the Americans let you, right? So if Soft Gripen gives us full data, everything like that, like basically, the export model is no different than the domestic model, and I'm pretty sure like the F-35s that we get, if we get them, or when we get them, are going to have restrictions on them. Why? Because the Americans are never going to sell you their full technology, right? The Russians do the same. They'll sell you something, but they sell you the export model, right? That's why the Iranians want to build their own Su-30s under contract, because there's Israeli technology in the Russian Su-30s, right? And they don't want to have any sort of backdoor cut-ins or whatever, kind of like how the F-35's got Chinese, chips in them, right? So I was like, that's a concern. It's a concern. I'm sure there's backdoor little whatever's in there for the Chinese. You never know. They're pretty sneaky. But anyway, getting back to the Davos thing. So I talked about Carney's speech. You can go watch for yourself and critique for yourself. Most people said the same thing, that it was much more professional, much more calculated. And obviously, it was the diplomatic way of telling Trump to fuck off. That's what it was, right? The whole, sign in the window metaphor, or whatever that Carney was talking about. And I know, okay, that like the people, like the hyper partisans, they have no nuance. They're just like, oh, look at this, he's talking gibberish. He's making a very direct statement diplomatically. Again, if you can't even follow that language, you shouldn't be commenting on fucking geopolitics if you can't. I mean, Putin does this all the time. Now, mind you, Carney's not at Putin or Xi's level of messaging, like where Putin can insult you and it'd take you 2 months to realize that he did it, right? Because they know how to select their words, right? Carney seems to be somewhere in between that. Like, he's definitely not bombastic like Trump, right? Trump does not understand diplomacy. He has no knowledge of it whatsoever. It's in his actions. Like again, like none of this craziness needs to be going on. And there's even a lot worse coming on, guys. We are at $4,800 for an ounce of gold. The beginning of this month, we were at $4,200 an ounce. That's a $600 increase in under a month. I said by year's end we'd be at about $5,400 to $8,500. I think with what's happening in Japan right now, it might be more like $12,000, $15,000, or $25,000 gold. What does the world look like at $5,000 now? You remember me saying not too long ago, early, like I guess in November or December, what does the world look like at $4,000 an ounce? Yeah. You see what I mean? Yeah, every time it goes up, it's just something, it gets more crazier in the world. But that's what I said. The first 2 months of January were just going to be like make your head spin. January and February, right? We're going to get like 10 years worth of chaos in like 2 months. And almost all of it is being brought on by one man. Well, and his administration, in all fairness. So Trump's response was basically more of a rant, I did this and I did that, and I could do this. I chose not to do this, but I could do this. Kind of like flexing but not flexing. It was kind of all over the place. Then he threatened Canada, like Cardi, you better watch out, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. You guys get protected by us and blah blah. And it's always this weird kind of like there's mutual benefit is not, oh, we're protecting you. It's mutual benefit, right? If you listen to military generals talk about how NORAD, for example, how the United States needs Canada to help with the radar tracking of missiles and so on. The Americans cover the ICBMs, we cover the cruise missiles and stuff, right? And whatever. But it's a joint venture. If you shut off one side of the Arctic or the other side of the Arctic, you will not be able to see the Russians coming. So, I mean, if anything, from Trump's like tirades and disruptions, the people benefiting most is China and Russia, right? Putin's just sitting back going, fuck, they're going to destroy themselves? Okay, fine. Yeah. It's like, okay, so if they fight each other, well, they're not going to fight us, right? How messianic is that? But no, Iceland seems to be, because Iceland has no standing military like that, but Iceland fits all the bill of what Sweden has done since it's joined NATO. It's kind of hit the ground running. But the Swedes have a very clever military force. I've always thought Canada should probably base its model similar to the Swedish model. I mean, obviously, we have to compete for our own country and do what's right for us. But in the Arctic, they kind of got it figured out. You know what I mean? Them and the Finns. You know what I mean? They tend to kind of know what to do in the Arctic. I guess in Norway as well. But particularly the Swedes, like they got completely proprietary systems. They have some U.S. stuff. They for example, they have Leopard tanks, but they've got that whole CV90 line. And the way I look at it is, we should probably build, and we were going to get CV90s under Harper. I think we were going to get something like 113 of them, but then the Afghanistan war was coming to an end for us, so we canceled it. But I think that might be a good way to go. But like with anything, we'll work a partnership with the Swedes. Okay, maybe at first, okay, well, Sweden, you start building the stuff so we can just fucking get it, and then say within the next 10 years we have our own system built up that we can get the blueprints, the models, same thing we're going to do with software, and just do it all, because it's all going to work together. You know what I mean? And whatever advance we could do it with the Germans, we could do it with the British, whatever. Personally, the equipment I like the most is the German stuff, like the Rheinmetall stuff and the Swedish stuff. It's just because the stuff makes more sense for Canada. The American stuff is good. It's great. Don't get me wrong. But it's like the problem is it's meant for working in a more southern climate, right? Canada always has to take the Arctic and winter into consideration. Summer, anything can fly in summer. You know what I mean? But you get out there. Like just flying into today, you know what I mean? Like it'd be a mess trying to fly around in this stuff today. It's just, it's like we just got 10 or 20 centimeters of snow and it's still snowing. You know what I mean? Like it just, yeah, it doesn't let up. In Russia, they just got like something like 25 feet of snow. It was ridiculous. It was in like Valdostok or whatever, 9 feet, 25 feet, all like in one night. People like fucking digging their way out of their houses. It'd be crazy to live in a place like that. But if you were really set up for the winter, it wouldn't be so bad. Just as long as you didn't have to go to work or anything, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, fuck. Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's like entombed in your freaking. And the thing is that's dangerous too. I mean, that happens out in the Newfoundland and stuff like that, where they get these freaking snowstorms off the freaking ocean, and they're out there and they're looking for their car, and they're standing on top of it. They don't even realize it. It's like 3 feet underneath them. Yeah. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, so Trump's reaction was kind of expected. He's backed off for now. I mean, again, Trump doesn't do policy. He does like Twitter policy or whatever, or X policy, whatever you want to call it. Social media diplomacy. So right now it's off. Why is it off though? Well, there's a couple of things. Like Trump, okay, and Americans need to understand that yes, they are the shiny beacon on the hill for a lot of things, but they're not completely invaluable to everybody. you know what I mean? People do have options outside the United States, meaning in terms of trade, in terms of military procurements, in terms of sovereignty, in terms of how they price their oil, in terms of buying U.S. debt. I can't stress this enough. What happened in Japan? Like Japan is like one of the number one buyers of U.S. debt, and it might not be able to do it much longer. Now, some people are saying Japan, dumped a bunch of bonds or whatever in retaliation to the Greenland thing. I don't think it's that. It's just look, Japan has been destroying itself trying to buy U.S. debt. China buys a lot of U.S. debt, but they build stuff with it, right? This is the problem the United States has. If it wants to live the quality of life that it's living, even as crazy as things are right now, it's going to get much worse because as soon as people stop buying the debt, there's no more petrodollar. That's it. Once there's no more petrodollar, you're a third world country overnight. You're talking like $100,000 gold. It's going to be something bizarre to witness. And Trump is not doing anything to reverse this. He needs to balance that budget. Like better late than never. Like getting the illegals out is a part of it. It really is. A lot of people might not agree with this, but if you want to drop housing prices, you have to drop the demand. The easiest way to drop demand is to get rid of the illegals, right? Then suddenly you have apartment vacancies and stuff like that. The foreign workers have to go. You have to phase them out. You can't just get rid of them overnight like Trump tried, because the problem is that it's too disruptive to the system, and it might counter. I mean, it's different if you have a balanced budget. You can take a hit, but when you're spending $1 trillion every 3 months, and on the hook for something like $19 trillion, like just to keep the fucking government but the debt is increasing, right? And it's just increasing and increasing and increasing. So you have to get rid of that debt. So you either drop democracy JDAMs on people, right, to burn up some of that debt, or you basically got to sell the bonds, right? And it's not working out. People are like, the EU is the largest. The EU as a whole is the largest economy in the world, right? As a whole, you know what I mean? That's 28, 29 nations, right? 30 nations, whatever it is. But the thing is that, Donald Trump doesn't realize that, he looks at each individual country, he doesn't look at them as one big fucking monolith, right? Which, if you think of it in terms of the EU, that's exactly what it is. So if one guy says, fuck you, make me, then they all say, fuck you, make me, right? It might be not that cut and dry, but what it does play out to is the U.S. debt and debt-based economy might not function in that world. So when Trump said, oh, you know what, give us Greenland, and then he said Iceland, so I guess he wants to go after Iceland next. So he kept referring to Iceland, but he meant Greenland. But then we see the Swedes start to put a presence in Iceland. What's that about, right? You know what I mean? Like, but from the Arctic sovereignty point of view, it makes total sense. Just because of where Iceland is. And the thing is that Macron came out telling Trump that if you do this 10% or 25% tariff on us, we're going to enact an anti-coercion law, which by the EU, which means that they will basically hit you back just as hard or harder, but on top of that, it will sanction some of your goods and services, meaning it'll cost Americans a lot more to play that game, and to the point where you're gonna, you lose markets. You basically will be flushed out of the markets. So in other words, a big contract comes up, you're just not going to get. That's already happening, right? But this will actually have legal clause to say that no, you can't compete here because you're trying to basically bribe people. You're using coercion, whether it's through bullying or through bribery, to basically steal sovereignty from a country, right? And that's kind of is an oh my god moment for U.S. manufacturing. It's like, would it be a pulling the pin in the hand grenade in the submarine? Absolutely. Yes, it would hurt the EU a lot more, but the EU countries like Canada are already pivoting their trade. And the question is the public of the EU willing to endure market disruption, like massive market disruption, on the principle of protecting Greenland? My hunch says right now, yes. They would say, okay, well, if we can't get American products, and if it disrupts this, disrupts that, so be it. We'll get it from somewhere else. Whatever it's going to be, right? And obviously, Trump, is starting to learn that people can hit back, and they can hit back hard, especially when they unify. The mid powers unify as a group. It's like suddenly the Americans aren't the superpower they thought they were. Like they can't just bully everybody into doing what they want. And Trump doesn't like this. Obviously, he doesn't like this, but there's nothing to do about it. Now, the thing is that it doesn't really matter what Trump does at this point. He's not doing the right thing anyway. He's not doing MAGA. He's not doing Make America Great Again. He's not doing that at all. More MAGA, like for Israel, but and the Israelis, they're freaking out too, because they know, like, if when the Democrats get in the next election, and if they don't have all these crazy laws that they're trying to pass right now, that they might lose all their funding from the United States. So this is why Netanyahu's out there kind of. He even took a pot shot at him. That was kind of funny. No, the Iron Dome, that's ours. It's our technology. Stop taking credit for it. I mean, it is funny in a bizarre way. Like it's gods must be crazy, right? Catch-22, gods must be crazy. Here we go. Moon over Parador. You got to watch those movies, guys. There is relevance in the world, idiocracy as well, I guess. But the thing is that we have a situation where Trump is making no effort whatsoever to balance the budget, to rail in the debt spending, right? And that's the key. Now, is it going to hurt? Yes. But he could start with the simple things, such as funding to illegals. Cut them off. You know what I mean? If we're right, maybe a few million people have actually left the United States, going home. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to say. They've deported something like 600,000, which is pretty impressive. That'd be 6 million people a decade. But if there was like 2 or 4 million people that are, left the country just because, well, I'm just not going to stick around because, the ICE guys are everywhere and they self-deported, that's even better, because then that would be like 60 million people a decade, which means you could probably get all the people out of your country in probably about 8 years. You know what I mean? That would be cool, especially if they self-deported, right? That would open up the economy. That would take the strain off the housing. Your crime rates would lower. You know, it would go on and on and on and on, right? So we can give Trump that win a bit, but again, it's not enough yet. You know, you still have to wrangle that debt because if you don't, and the easiest way is to stop the fucking military expansion. Stop doing that, right? Cut off the foreign aid. Just cut it off. Cut off the aid to Ukraine. Cut off the aid to Israel. Just all of it. You know what I mean? Haiti, you name it. Like again, I understand you cut off aid to third world countries, people are going to die. I understand that, and I feel bad about that. But we're on the way to the third world country, right? We got to do the same thing here in Canada. Either you grow your GDP and grow jobs and stuff like that, but just the GDP numbers, like a lot of people, like just fascinated by like Trump in the stock market, right? Yeah, that's his buddies getting richer. That's not, and that's all propped up. It's all fake. And who's propping it up? Well, that wealth is coming from the general public, right? It's coming from people like you and me. And that has a lot of very bad consequences because the bad consequences are this, is that they're robbing us to keep themselves fat, right? The billionaires stick together. What can you say, right? So the one thing that I want to talk about is a clip that I saw of Lutnick. I don't like the man. I can't stand the man. I hate the man. He's a fucking evil goon, whatever. But again, this shows you the fucking two-faced bullshitter that he is. He's out there saying things that that make sense. Like a lot of what he said. I don't like the man, but a lot of what he said was right. It was correct. Bringing in illegals, you have to protect your borders. You should manufacture stuff back in your own country. Okay, everybody agrees with that, sure. But that's not what these people practice. Okay, that's what he says. Okay, and he's saying it so that the MAGA people are watching, saying, "Oh, look how he's sticking it to the World Economic Forum." And it's like, okay, have you not been following what this man has been doing? You know what I mean? Like, the MAGA people, I don't think they're bad people, but sometimes they're just so gullible. It's just this idea that, oh my God, look, we're winning. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, come on, open your eyes. I'm not, I want you to join the reasonable side here. You know what I mean? Like that, and understand where we're at, Getting back to Greenland, I don't know if you guys saw the posts of Greenlanders making fun of fentanyl addicts in the States. I know it's not funny, but they're like, yeah, like here's why we don't want to be a part of the United States, and fucking kind of standing there like zombie poses, like you see the fentanyl people do there, And the people in Greenland, I don't think you can bribe them with $10 million. I don't think that's the way of life that not everybody. I'm sure there would be a lot that would take it, but I don't think not everybody in the world functions on that level. You know what I mean? Where it's just about cutthroat capitalism and money. A lot of people do, sure, but there's a lot of people that don't, and I know that's surprising and shocking to some. I'm not saying the Greenlanders are better than everybody else or more pure or whatever. I'm just saying that they're not stupid. They kind of see what it's attached to. Yeah, you give me $10 million to take over my country, but your $10 million by the end of the year might only be worth $50. You know what I mean? And would the Americans actually make good on paying these people? No. There'd be some sort of clause where we're going to give it to a trust or something like that, and that trust is good. Would be like the people would see very little of that money. They'd get fucked over. It's how many times do the elites do this that we don't see it coming, right? It's like house expropriation. We'll give you what we think it's worth. You're seeing it here with the gun confiscation. Oh, we're going to give you what we think the guns are worth. You paid $3,000 for your fucking AR-15, and we'll give you $250 for it. And then there's like a $500 disposal fee. It's exactly what they did in Australia, and that's what they're going to do here, right? But anyway, I digress. So with all that going on, the rest of the Davos stuff, the climate change thing seems to have disappeared. I guess they don't care about it anymore. It's snowing now. I guess climate change is over. You know what I mean? Like it's just these people are so full of shit. Are they relevant though? Like that's the thing. Like Cameron McGregor made a good, like a good observation of that. Like the whole World Economic Forum Davos thing is done in English for an American audience. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you got Macron out there. I don't know if he was. I didn't watch Macron or whatever like that. But is he speaking French or is he being translated in English? Whatever. Now, obviously, they have translators and stuff like that. But most people at the World Economic Forum function in English, right? Why is that? Because it's for the Western world. That's why. It's for like again, it's for it's like these World Economic Forum people have like done such evil to us. It's the vaccines, they got rid of Klaus Schwab because he was just bad PR, right? And so he retired. But plus the guy fucking looked like Doctor Evil, right? It's like he was almost a cartoonish figure, right? But all these guys, these George Soros types, Maurice Stroud types, Henry Kissinger types, Zygmunt Brzezinski types, they're all the same. Like they don't really, they don't really stand for anything good. You know what I mean? And that could be said about most of the World Economic Forum people. But that said, the optics this year, okay, is the fuck Trump optics, right? Just like the world is kind of boycotting the United States on many levels, tourism, buying products, and I love American products. Don't get me wrong. I've got lots of American products here, but the thing is that the thing is that everybody has this solidarity mentality towards Greenland and stuff like that. And Trump is very, very, very much even Black Pigeon Speaks out there. He's like, well, it's really about putting a feather in his cap. It's really not about any much more. Nobody sees it as a 5D chess move. That the Q people see it. The Q people will believe anything. But it's like when you track it for not what they say, but what they do, right? And the thing is that most people are looking at these people that we hate so much as the good guys, right? And this is Trump's biggest fucking betrayal, is making people like Macron look reasonable or Starmer look reasonable. I mean, that's almost impossible, right? And mind you, the people in the UK know how bad he is. But on the world stage, people in Canada might not be aware of how bad Starmer actually is or how bad Macron is, right? Our guy, okay, he's bad in some ways, there's no doubt about that, but he's nowhere near the level, yet anyway, of say Macron or Starmer for stupidity, right? But I think that's just because the way he's playing the game. He's not really doing the woke thing like Trudeau. He panders a bit because it's his base. I get that, and I know there's some people. Any little thing is just like, oh, it's this, it's like, no. Watch what he's doing. Stephen Harper. Now I often call Stephen Harper. Okay, yes, he was a globalist. We know that. You don't have to tell me any bad things that Stephen Harper done. Trust me, I followed him close enough. I know what he done. Signing the Agenda 2030 stuff. Again, increasing immigration to 250,000 a year from 130,000 a year, which Crutchley brought it from something like 85,000 a year to 130,000 a year. And I thought that was ridiculous, right? I thought 85,000 people. When I was a kid, when they were bringing in 10 to 15,000 people a year, I thought that was ridiculous, because it was. Right now we're beyond, way past ridiculous, right? But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, is that with Carney, okay, he's doing things that are the little guy's not going to see the benefit for, probably for about 2 to 4 years more, right? because of how slow policy works. And Canada is in the everything crisis the same way the United States is. We have the 300 people per day dying from fentanyl. We have the homeless crisis, the tent cities everywhere. We have all these problems, right? Housing shortages, mass immigration, all these illegals, the fucking illegal truckers, all this stuff. It's all got to be wrangled, right? And we'll see how much Charney actually does in that steps. Like, for example, just going after the Mississauga missiles, but that should be Doug Ford doing that as well. Like all these, Pajeets driving around with no licenses and killing people with their fucking 18-wheelers and stuff like that. That should be Doug Ford cracking it. But, that might hurt the industry. We might have trucker shortages if we do that. Fuck them. If it takes a couple of weeks for your Amazon package to get there, I'd rather keep people alive. And these people, put them in jail and then just deport them. Make sure they never come back here again after their sentence. Just enough's enough. You know what I mean? If we're always going to pander to capitalism and the mighty dollar, like we're going to be doomed, right? We have to have standards at some point, even if it costs us a little. Because once we get balanced up, then all that problems go away, right? So Stephen Harper's out there, and he said something very interesting. He's been in the spotlight a lot lately. It's kind of like a geopolitical analyst or whatever. I mean, he used to be the prime minister of the country, right? And I have always contributed that he's been the best prime minister Canada's ever had, not because I'm giving the man a rating endorsement, but he's just overall done better than anybody else overall. So like, for example, Paul Martin brought the debt down a bit better than what, and he was a Liberal. He brought down the deficit a bit better than Stephen Harper. But Paul Martin had scandal after scandal after scandal. Robbed us blind, same way Chrétien did. Harper had no scandals, right? Like, Harper had no scandals. There was no, the closest we got to a scandal was Peter MacKay taking a helicopter ride, a $35,000 helicopter ride on the taxpayer's dollar, which I think he had to pay back, and the Mike Duffy scandal, which turned out it was the Liberal proponents that were actually guilty, not him. It's just the CBC used it to weaponize against Harper, right? And the thing about it is this, is that when you judge them across the board, taking Canada from 5 major trade deals to 45 trade deals in 10 years, he was basically statesman of the year after year after year, because he just did more for Canada than any other politician did for their country, including the United States. You know what I mean? And so when Stephen Harper comes out, a man who had Carney working for him in 2008, and what happened is in 2008, Stephen Harper fired him for Jim Flaherty for the new finance minister, because he didn't like the job Carney was doing, right? So Carney, he takes credit as the man that fixed the financial crash for Canada. No, it was Jim Flaherty. Carney's lying. Jim Flaherty, God rest him, he really fought hard for this country to try to get things wrangled. And working for a guy like Harper could not have been easy. You know what I mean? That man was very stressed out. There's no doubt about it. It wasn't long after his wife died that he ended up getting sick with cancer and dying himself. Well, at least that's what they told him. I think he probably drank himself to death. Just there's some people that just stress out. You know what I mean? But he did do good things the best he could, right? So Stephen Harper basically balanced the budget right with the largest, the Canadian, like Stephen Harper grew the government quite a bit, but he always kept it where the budget was just slightly out of balance, right? Not ridiculously out of balance. People were how could you call yourself a conservative, blah, 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 the debt's growing, blah, blah, blah. But he was doing a lot of infrastructure and stuff like that, trade deals, and you name it, right? So we were like that, and then in the 11th hour, like within a couple of months, they fucking balanced the budget overnight. So they were always able to do it overnight. It's just they spent, maybe on some projects weren't the best money spent, like the highway to nowhere, stuff like that. Again, you can critique if you want, but if you judge them overall, like I mean, there was no comparison. So, and to compare Justin Trudeau to Stephen Harper, wow, like this is clubbing baby seals there. But anyway, so Stephen Harper comes out and he goes, if you ask me the question, he goes, first off, he goes, I was the most, there's no doubt that I was the most pro-American prime minister Canada's ever had. He goes, nobody could take that. Right? And he's correct. He's correct. In my opinion, if Stephen Harper would have been a nationalist rather than a globalist, he would have been, Canada would be a superpower by now. Right? If we would have had Harper for another 10 years instead of Justin Trudeau, we'd probably be a superpower anyway. Nuclear, non-nuclear by choice. Just because what the man was doing was working, right? So he goes and says something really interesting. He goes, if you were to ask me a year ago when Donald Trump got elected, and he came out with the trade disputes and all this and grievances. He goes, and everybody's going, we need to, heal the relationship between Canada and the United States, right? He goes, I would have agreed with you. He goes, we should have tried to make amends there. He goes, a year later, a year on, he goes, I don't know if I think it's clear as day. Basically, we have to divert our trade. Basically, what he's saying is Carney's doing a good job. So when you got a guy that fired a guy, right? And I don't know, I think Carney and him are talking again, which that's a good thing. That's a good thing. If Carney outplays Harper, we win big fucking time. Will it be a perfect world? No, but it'll be better. You know what I mean? We'll at least hopefully outrun the collapse of the United States, which with what happened with the bonds in Japan, man, it's just like when you look at what you're looking at and you're just like, they're gonna feel that. They're gonna feel that. Oh fuck! I hope you guys are prepared down there, not thinking Trump is saving the day. Anybody that's in Trump's saving the day, and I get it. Everybody's looking for the savior. There's nobody coming to save you. No, Trump is really, really fucked up. Now, in all fairness, he inherited. Trump did inherit an absolute fucking nightmare from fucking Biden. There's no doubt about that. So don't dismiss that. In all fairness, but Trump did nothing that he got he's done almost the opposite of everything he got elected on with a handful of things, right? But what he needed to do, and he did the same thing in his first fucking 2 years, where in his first term, where he had the House and the Senate, the same thing, and all he had to do was start fucking balancing, but just do it the Harper way. Okay, you don't balance the budget overnight because you'll disrupt your economy too much. You do it a little bits at a time. Okay, you do a little bit of austerity. Okay, look, the private sector's growing. Okay, looks kind of stable. Okay, maybe we can cut say 1,000 government jobs. Okay, the economy's going down. Okay, it's coming up a bit. Oh, look, the private sector. We've done some tweaking for small businesses, and they're now able to, almost every place is able to hire an extra couple of people. Okay, look, economy just grew by 20,000 jobs. Okay, maybe we get rid of another 2,000 government things. And while we do that, before you even lay off a single government, you could probably balance your budget without firing a single government worker. But you have to take away entitlements, and we know what government workers are like when you go to take away entitlements. But give them the option. Say, look, either you downsize or you lose your job. Like we have to balance the budget. You can't give government workers 12 weeks paid off every year. It's fucking ridiculous. Give them their 2 weeks and that's it. They're not more important than everybody else. It's just we have to wrangle the ridiculous spending. The big one is the welfare. Get the welfare fraud, go after that. The immigrants that come in and never paid a cent and they've been here for years. getting free healthcare, free this, free that. No, make the immigrants. Anybody that's not a citizen should be using health insurance. If not, they have to pay out of pocket. You do that, you get rid of a lot of the mass immigration there. Like Trudeau has built a welfare state, and now if the numbers are true, about 18 million Canadians are getting some form of fucking government assistance. If that's the truth, that's fucking horrific. Now there's retirees or whatever, but like think of all like 85% of immigrants. This is like old numbers now. God knows what it is now. It's probably worse than that. And I'm not trying to bash on immigrants. I'm just saying that when 85% of them are coming in and going on welfare, maybe for the first 3 years, maybe we don't really need these people. You know what I mean? How dare you, you racist bitch? Like it's just okay. Enough with the fucking ridiculousness. Let's get rid of them. You know what I mean? The easiest way, workfare. You start doing workfare to the welfare recipients, they're going to disappear. The second is start throwing fucking illegals in jail, like in a labor camp, and televise it. Just make them fucking chain them to a ground and fucking make them break rocks. You do that again. Say, look, these people are going to be in here for 12 years breaking rocks. You know what I mean? And then when they're done, they're going to be, deported to country of origin. If they don't tell us where they come from, they sit in a cell until breaking rocks until they tell us where they came from. And if the country doesn't want to take them back, it's going to be a miserable fucking existence. Because, you're going to be detained until we know where you come from or until we find a place where you fit in. And let's say they were like murderers and stuff like that, rapists and all that. Again, bring back the death penalty. Give them their fair two trial, like for death penalty. Give them their fair two trials, right? Don't wait forever to do it. Get on, make it priority. Anybody that's death penalty, priority on the trial. And when they're found guilty, you kill them a month after. The reason being is you don't want them to just do jail time and then set them in the world, deport them to another country, and create a problem in that country. You know what I mean? You start doing that, you'll clean up your system pretty fast. At best, you can make, like lower your crime rates. At super best, you get people to self-deport that, the lazies, and cut off the welfare. Right? The idea is to cut off the welfare. If you want to balance your budget, you have to cut off welfare. And stuff like that. So you can do a multi-approach. If you're going to do foreign aid, well, then you gotta cut off the welfare here to the illegals. No welfare for illegals. Period. Say, look, we're going to give you 30 days to get out of the country. If you need help getting out of the country, we'll help you for that. And then after that, you don't come back. And when they leave the country, like you're going to take a fingerprint, eye retinal scan, DNA sample, photograph, all that stuff. And if they're caught in the country, coming back in the country for any reason, we don't care. If it's a sick parent, whatever, 50 years in jail, right? Why? Because they've already abused the system. Like why are we giving these people the benefit? Like most countries would round them up and kill them. You know what I mean? That's what most third world countries do. I'm not saying we should do that, but I'm saying that's what would happen, right? That's why these third world countries don't typically have illegal immigration. It's because as soon as you walk across the border, they shoot you. But the other thing is that when they leave, all the welfare that they've taken from us, they can't. Let's say there's a clause where they're illegal. Okay, they can't come back in the country ever again. Not even to visit, not for tourism, not for anything. But let's say they're a legal landed migrant. They registered. We know they're here. Okay, but they've been on welfare since the day they got here. Okay, they leave, but they can't come back in the country until they pay back every cent they've ever taken from us, and then they can visit or vacation. That'll keep them out as well. We have to do that. We have to do that, and the sooner we do that, the sooner we can balance our budget and greatly balance our budget so that we can invest in other things. Let's say you want to have free dental care for everybody. Well, now you'd be able to do it because you got rid of like 8 million freaking welfare recipients. You'd be able to do it. Even if you had to do it per capita on a budget per year. Okay, well maybe you have to wait 2 years to get this done, or what? Who cares? As long as you could help people out in your own country that actually pay into it. You know what I mean? And that's what people are asking for. Other things, that solar flare. Did you guys see the freaking footage from that, from the space station. Like, man, now that I didn't catch the Northern Lights yesterday, but it was too cloudy. But I've seen some photos, and it's just like, wow. But they had to move the space station out of the way because it was like they were going to they were basically going to get microwaved. It was like they said it was a potential quarantine event, but it hit the top of the North Pole, so we dodged the bullet. But like when it hit the ionosphere there, just like friggin' red and green, and yeah, it was spectacular, like never before seen, right? So scary but cool. Scary but cool. Again, like guys, when it's our time, it's our time. What are we gonna do about it? I'm watching. I'm looking at the like this is not an AI generated photo. This is what it looks like from the space station. I'm just like, yeah. What is it? First thing I thought was the biblical reference to wormwood. Like like if you don't know about wormwood prophecy, there, it's like, yeah. I think we just about seen it. It's like, yeah, we're done. We're done. We're gonna get vaporized. Maybe it's for the better. I don't know. What else do I got? I don't have much else than that for now. I'm sure there'll be something crazy happening tonight. Yeah, so yeah, the whole Minnesota thing, yeah, that agitation and stuff like that. I'm not really following that too much, but it's going to be one of many tentacles of protests coming as the weather warms up. Oh, in pop culture stuff, I guess. Nick Fuentes and Sneeko and Andrew Tate and all that in Miami doing Zeke Hales to Kanye West or Ye, however you want to call him. Hail Hitler song. So you have to think the Jewish mayor of Miami, like, or Palm Springs or wherever it was, just fucking flipping out, and you got all these new anti-Semitism laws, and it just goes and it goes and it goes, and it's like, oh my God, will it ever stop? Like, just like, how did we get so retarded? You know what I mean? Is what it is. Is what it is. But a lot of bad things coming down the pike for hate speech laws and stuff like that. And it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Like at some point, they're just going to pull the plug on the internet, or the AI is just going to be the only thing allowed on the internet. I'm not sure how it's going to work out, but it's going to be something stupid like that for sure. But that might be not the worst thing in the world, because the more people get offline, I think the better their life quality will be. Like, don't spend all your time online. Like, for example, guys, I'm starting chapter 5 of my book. I'm at like 244 pages into the book so far of my 2060 dystopia book. The other two books I'll get. My goal is to have the rough draft done within at least a month and a half, and hopefully the second draft done by March, whatever March, and then hopefully it'll be ready for a professional editor. And I'll probably do beta readers first, and then professional edit. Just because that's going to clean up a lot. Like the easier I can make it for the professional editor, the better it's going to be. I've got to read my own book. God knows how many times I'm going to have to read that. My goal is to have it published by the end of the year. I'd like to have all three of them published by the end of the year, but like if I could have them all written by the end of the year, that's a feat in itself. But I do definitely want to have at least one book published this year. And it'll be my first book. Yes, it's going to be expensive. Yes, I'll run up my credit card to do that. Will I make any money on it? Probably not. But that's not the point. The point is write a book. Get it done. Become an author. Right now, I don't know if I'm in. I think I'm definitely past short story territory into novelette. I don't think I'm in full novel yet. But if I'm only the amount of stuff I've added to the story, it's getting good. It's getting good. And I'm not just saying that because it's my own book or whatever. It's like, no, this is something I want to read. It doesn't need refinement, absolutely. But as soon as I get through it, the round one, I'm kind of writing out a chapter about every 3 to 4 days, whatever. There's 10 chapters of the audiobook. That's one reason why I'm writing it so fast, is because I already know where the story's going. You know what I mean? Like, I just listened to my own story, and it's like, okay, well, I'll add this, take this way, whatever. And it's kind of a neat way to do a story. I still gotta figure out how I'm gonna do, like, for example, like what programs I want to do for editing, what programs I want to do for the rewrite. Like, I might try the voice activated thing, what they call, voice, like voice writing, or what do you call it? There's a few things for it. But anyway, there's a couple of those programs. And I don't want anything with a subscription, because I just can't afford that, right? Like, I know it's only $20 a month. Yeah, but everything's only $20 a month. You know what I mean? And if you do that, before you know it, you got like $800 of subscriptions, right? That's the same like with the recording software. It's like, I just want to be able to fucking buy it, own it, and record with it. I mean, I don't mind if the option's there to upgrade, but if I want to get some like new patches or whatever, sure. But I want something that, okay, I don't even care if it's old. Like, for example, I'm going to have something. This is what I need, and it seems like they don't make a program that just pertains solely to authors. Here's from point A to point B. Here's the program you need. It will do everything for you to publish a book, such as editing. So you got like Microsoft Word, which is going to do 90% of it, right? So it does a little bit of everything, but it's not like, for example, great at like what do you call it, formatting for like novels and stuff like that. That's a total separate program. So can you do it on Microsoft Word? Yeah, but they're a real pain in the ass, and it almost never works out. You almost have to use other software, and then you got Grammarly, right? Stuff like that. Okay, fine. Now you got to get 3 programs. Can you not just get it all in one? You know what I mean? Maybe there is, and I'm just not aware of it. I'm sure you guys are usually pretty resourceful for letting me know stuff like that. But the other thing too is I might get a professional editor. I'll have to shop around, see what's in my area. There's a few that I can do, but I don't like it's so much per word or whatever. Like, it's $1.50 to 2 cents per word. I don't mind paying for like top quality editing, but like that phase, okay, like if I'm gonna do several rounds of self editing, beta readers, and all that, and then send out to the professional editor. So my hope is that I have all that done by June for the first book, and then maybe by November I can actually release the book after I get the artwork and the formatting done, which I might outsource those things just because it's easier for other people to do stuff that know how to do it. And the people that know how to do it are going to do it faster. They're going to do a better job. And like the story is the only part that really concerns me, as long as the story's good, and I think the story's going to be really good. And that, there's no spelling mistakes and plot holes or whatever. I'm sure there'll be, first book will be like, oh, I'll read it and I'll be like, ah, shit, missed that. Ah, I missed that. Oh, man, whatever. But I do plan on getting a lot of beta readers. I know they say you usually go with like at least 3. I'm thinking like 50. I'm just gonna look for free beta readers, and like everybody's gonna give me something different. You know what I mean? And it's, again, if it takes a while, I just want it done within the year, no matter what. A short story novel would be easy, or what they call a book or a booklet, would be easier to do. But the problem is I already got the story, and the story's big. So I'd rather publish a novel than a short story, right? And I will obviously market it and all that stuff as I get to it. But yeah, so anyway, I guess that's all I got for today. So yeah, the only other thing I got to do today, I do want to work on my song a bit, but I might hold that off till Saturday. Yeah. So, guys, I'm almost done this book. I got like about 40 pages or so left, and I'll be doing the review on this one. And I'll be back to the Sword of Kagan, the Bible, and this one, and that one, and that one. But anyway, yeah, so that's what I got for now. So there we go.